I think I'm live. Let's find out. So give me a few seconds while I make sure this is actually working. And it says that in fact it is. So welcome. I'm Dr. Dan, and this is the month that marks the birthday of chiropractic, the 125th birthday this year, which is why I'm doing this little mini webinar series, 4 weeks, 4 Fridays, to express my passion and my excitement and to nerd out a little bit on why chiropractic is so awesome and why the heck, as a professional, would I be so excited about my birthday, the birthday of my own profession, of the very first chiropractic adjustment. And the reason is because there's a huge hidden secret. There's a special principle that underlies this whole thing we call chiropractic that is a boon to the masses. It's something very special, very powerful, and it is the cornerstone of creating healthy families. And I stand by that statement. I'm going to explain that statement because if you're like most people, you probably have heard of chiropractic in terms of back pain, sciatica, headaches. And the truth, while it contains those things, is so much greater. And so the statement that I'm following up with here is that chiropractic is the cornerstone of creating healthy families, of creating healthy people to create a healthy society. And not just chiropractic as a profession, but as the principle on which it stands. And we're going to talk all about that. And I'm going to leave off a bit of the science, because the science is what I dig into in some of my workshops that we're doing for free in the next few months. So if you're watching this at the time, or if you're listening to this shortly after I make this video, which is September of 2020, in the next 2 months, I'll be doing a workshop on chronic illness and chronic stress for adults. That's in October. And one for childhood anxiety, stress, and ADHD in November. And so I'll have the links to those as well. So we're going to skip a lot of the science here. We're going to talk just about the magic and the power and the truth behind the message of chiropractic. So where do we start? You, if you're like the average person, have heard of chiropractic for the treatment of pain, of back pain. But here's where we need to get a little bit more specific. Do chiropractors adjust the spine? Yes. Yes, we do. Most chiropractors work primarily through the spine. Is the spine in your back? Yes. Yes, it is. Can chiropractic help to alleviate pain? Absolutely. We do it all the time. It happens all the time in our office. People come in with pain. Within a few weeks or a few months, the pain's gone. Their function improves, so on and so forth. But is chiropractic a treatment for pain? The answer is no. That's where the divergence happens. Is that we assume that because chiropractic can help with back pain, and that chiropractors are oftentimes working on the spine, which is in the back, that it's for pain. But in reality, there's a truer version of what's going on beneath the surface, literally beneath the surface of the skin, surface of the bones, of the nervous system. And what's going on beneath the surface of that individual and their experience that is far beyond simply the alleviation of pain, which is why I can say with confidence that chiropractic care is the cornerstone of family health. Because we're not talking about everyone in the family, mom and dad and the kids and the uncle and the grandpa and grandpa, all getting sciatica at the same time. What we're talking about is improving and creating greater potential for healing, greater potential for adapting to stress, greater potential for expressing the quality of life and the meaning and the purpose and the gifts that we have to give to the world more clearly, more readily, as a result of being well adjusted. So how the heck does that work? Again, if you have this idea in your head that chiropractic is for pain, you're going to have to follow me on this trail here, because we're going to make a few steps, one after another. If you've already experienced for yourself the power of chiropractic to help change not just your experience of pain, but the quality of your life and your function and your thoughts and your emotions and your mood and your sense of self, then you at least know where I'm going. But a lot of times we have people in our office say, as they're making these changes in their own lives and as their lives are improving, they say, wow, my daughter is pregnant and she's going to a chiropractor. I didn't know that chiropractic is adjusted pregnant women. Or my sister's kids are going to the chiropractor for their issues, and I had no idea that chiropractors took care of kids. Do you take care of kids? Yes, I do. And there's a reason. Because what we're talking about is essentially the core principle of where health comes from. And it's very clear. It's very simple. Health comes from within. Health happens naturally from within when our body is set up in a proper circumstance, a proper situation, proper environment to do so. And the environment starts with the body right here. We are an environment. We're not just meat and bones. We're not mechanical. We're not like a car that can be diagnosed and broken down and fixed when it needs to be repaired. We are this environment, this ecosystem of intricate cells and tissues and thoughts and emotions and food and vibration and sunlight and whatnot. And when this ecosystem that is you as a human being is functioning properly, health is your natural state, which is a total flip of our entire healthcare paradigm on its head. Because according to our healthcare paradigm for our country, for the Western world in general, for our modern era, we have gotten so good at identifying symptoms and lab values and naming illnesses and syndromes and diseases and categorizing the process of illness and disease that we've made ourselves believe that health is the treatment of disease. But if you are already at the disease state, then you've already started to lose health. Because health is the natural state from which we came. Health is the divergence, or I should say, health is the beginning. Disease is the divergence from health. So what we want to talk about is not what kind of diseases or illnesses would chiropractic treat that would make it relevant for a family's healthcare routine or lifestyle routine. But more importantly, what are the things that show up when we diverge from this thing called health? And how does chiropractic help to reset that process in the body? So I'll tell you like this. When people come into our office, and the same story goes for me, I'll share my story with you. I'll share my family's story. I'll share some stories of people in our office who have experienced this for themselves and their families. When people come into our office, oftentimes it's because they have some sort of discomfort. It could be a physical pain or it could be a specific illness that's really altering their ability to enjoy life. And as we talk and as we get through the exam and the history, we get to this point where we talk about what is the thing about your life that is being compromised as a result of your illness or your pain or whatnot. And what are your goals beyond simply to have the pain go away? And this is where it gets really important. Because if you really look at it, if you really think about it, by the time we have an illness or a disease or a pain or a chronic something or other, we've already lost something of ourselves, a quality of our state of being, of our ability to do things that we love. And sometimes we actually can't do the things we love. And then that's when it becomes a real issue. That's when it becomes a real drag. Because we've actually diverged from the state of being that we want to enjoy, this thing that exists when we're in health. So you come in, say someone comes into our office, maybe you come in and you say, well, doc, I got this pain and it's really a bother. I say, okay, well, what's your goal? You say, well, the goal is to get rid of the pain. I say, well, what would change if you were to get rid of the pain? Well, the pain would be gone. Okay, but is there something else in your life that's unable to happen or that you're unable to do or that you're not able to feel that you're associating with this pain? And oftentimes, or always, the answer is yes to something. Oftentimes it's something like, I can't do the activity that I enjoy so much, or I can't spend time with my kids or my grandkids the way I want to. I can't get up and down off the floor, or I don't have enough energy to get through my day and still have time for myself and my family in the evening. Or I spend so much time and money and effort and emotional stress on treating my own illness that I just don't feel like I have anything left to enjoy life, or so on and so forth. And so what we start to see is that it's not necessarily even about the pain itself. Because if you think, how often have you actually felt pain, temporary pain in a part of your body, or discomfort in one of your organs, in your abdomen or in your chest or whatever? You had a headache, and yeah, it was uncomfortable, but you didn't think much about it. You went about your day, the pain went away, and you never thought about it again. In that moment, you didn't necessarily feel the need to go treat the pain, because you felt that the quality of health that you wanted was still present. You could still do what you wanted to do. It's only when we start to compromise this quality of life, which we can attach to the concept of health, that we start to feel like something's really wrong. So what we're talking about is a divergence from health. Health being the normal state, the divergence being a compromise or an inability to enjoy or to do or to be the way you want to be. So what happens when you get properly adjusted and you have your spine checked by a chiropractor is that the chiropractor's job is to help remove the interference between the body's potential, perfect potential to function properly and to bring you to health, and the actual state that you're in. So through the stresses of life and through the challenges and the trials and the tribulations, we end up getting bogged down. We end up getting stuck in patterns of stress that interfere with our body's capacity to express perfect health, that interfere with our mind and our emotions' ability to exist in harmony and perfect health. And that's when it gets real for us. That's when we want help. So we go to treat what we think is the illness or the symptom or the problem that's causing this stuff. But the illness and the symptom and the problem, this is an effect. It's an effect of the same thing that's causing you to be unable to live the life you want. So we're adults. We can think this way. We know that there's a certain threshold of dysfunction that we're willing to put up with before we need to do something. But what about kids? What about children who don't have the language to express that? What are we seeing in kids today that we're starting to have to contend with as possibly normal, or at least so commonplace that we're willing to accept it? What we're seeing is more chronic illness. What we're seeing is more stress-related illnesses. What we're seeing is more medication, more diagnoses, more problems, more allergies, more sleep issues. And we're seeing that in younger and younger populations, right? So we can see that even if a child isn't suffering from chronic back pain, that there is a divergence from health, that if you can think back to your childhood, perhaps you were a sick child. Some of us were. I had some issues of my own. But on average, there was less of this stuff going on because there was more connection to health naturally. Because of, I don't know, birth intervention, toxicity in food and water, emotional and mental stress, technology, the list could go on and on and on. Epigenetic stacking of stress and insult that happens through the generations. If you're following me in there, you know what I'm talking about. We're passing this stuff on. And so as a population, as a culture, we're suffering more and more. And in a single family, we're suffering more and more. So what is the opposite? What does the opposite look like? What is the purpose of talking about trying to find health rather than treating an illness? Why is this even different? So I'll tell you a few stories here. So oftentimes, when someone comes into our office, they have a specific issue they want addressed. And yet everywhere along the way, I'm always prompting and asking and inquiring, what else are you noticing that's changing? What else are you noticing that's getting different or better? And for the most part, under almost all circumstances, we see this happen where the main complaint starts to change, whether it's a pain syndrome or some other issue. And along with that, people tell the story that I have more energy. I'm sleeping better. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling more positive. I'm able to calm myself down more easily. I'm less perturbed by the things in my life, which is huge. That's huge because the thing that causes our problems is when our body becomes overwhelmed by stress. Type of stress doesn't matter. Being overwhelmed by stress causes problems in our body. So if you're able to be in a state where you're more readily adaptable, where you're more readily able to stand up against the stresses of life and to feel more energized and to be more present and to think more clearly and to have more control over your emotions, don't you think you'd feel healthier overall? Don't you think you'd be less likely to get sick or injured or fall ill to a disease if your body was working so much better that you're able to think, feel, sleep, digest better? All of those things. Move better. The answer is yes. Yes, you would. So you're an individual. Let's say you got adjusted and you noticed, And I can tell you, hey, if you take care of your spine and nervous system and you get adjusted by a chiropractor, you might experience 5, 10, 20, 40, 60% improvement, 80, 100% improvement in every area of your life. You feel more emotionally, mentally, physically, socially connected, spiritually connected even. We hear that oftentimes. You have more control of your habits and your behaviors. You're able to make new decisions. These are the kind of things that happen. These are the kind of things that people report, that I experience in my own life, that my wife Christian feels, that my family, my brother, and my mom and my dad get adjusted, and I know that they feel the same. That it's this quality that starts to change within your life and within what you feel as your state of being, which is the natural state of health within you, that makes life a little bit richer. So if you're able to be more in control of your thoughts, emotions, moods, behaviors, you feel better, move better, have more energy, sleep better, how much better would your life be if your husband or wife, or your boyfriend or girlfriend, or your mom or your dad, or your son or your daughter, or your cousin, your aunt, your grandma, your grandpa, whatever, if they also started to feel that, and they also had a greater sense of well-being with regard to their thoughts, moods, emotions, behaviors, physical well-being? Would it be easier to have connection? Would it be easier to feel in support of each other and patient with each other? And again, I'm leading these questions, but the answer is absolutely yes. That if you and the person with whom you live are both more emotionally resilient and sound and present and connected, would your lives collectively improve in a way that one person being treated, one person improving their life, would not have the same effect? The answer is yes. Just like two minds together on a single topic ends up being more powerful and impactful and transformational when we're trying to work on a project or solve a problem. In the same way, two bodies that are expressing health literally influence each other in a positive way. What about your kids? Have you noticed that when you're in a state of calm and confidence and presence, that your kids feel and act more calm, confident, and present? If your kids are going to school right now in this crazy environment that is our culture, and you're stressed to the max, which I know a lot of you parents are, stressed to the max because you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know if they're going to succeed or not, you don't know how it's going. If you're working in a school, you're probably even more stressed. Are you going to succeed? Are you going to fail? Are the kids going to go wild? There's so much stress. But when you're in that state, do you impact the people around you? The answer is yes. Think for a second about sitting in a room and have something walking in the room, someone you know is going to be out of control, crazy, stressed, anxious. Someone who you have experience with in the past who always seems to be that way. And so you have this association where your body kind of starts to lock up and your heart rate increases and you get a little, you feel just oppressed or restricted or something, or like the room gets smaller. Have you ever noticed something like that? Where someone gets so angry or so upset that it affects you as well? That is not just some sort of weird, abstract, energetic thing. It's a very real emotional entrainment and mental entrainment where the brain waves, the heart rhythms, the hormones that we're giving off, the neurochemicals in our body, the mirror neurons in our body which are mirroring the world around us, they all start to react, and we start to feel the impact of that person. What about the opposite? Is there someone you know in your life that you feel so calm around, so at peace around, that when they walk in a room or when you think of that person, it simply calms you down, your heart rate slows down, you feel more at ease, more at peace? That's a real process. It's a very real process that is a result of healthy, normal, stable physiology. Brain, heart, organs, hormones, nervous system, all working together to emit this coherent vibration, this stable, steady rhythm of peace and stability. And if you were to become that, if that was your normal state, which is, by the way, our normal state, a divergence from that is illness. Being in that is health. If that was your normal state, would your children be different? Would their lives be less stressful? Would your spouse's life be different? Would it be less stressful? Would you feel different in all actions in your life? Going to work, going to the grocery store, cooking dinner, doing chores at home, whatever it is, enjoying free time, having more contentment and peace and presence during free time. What would you give for that? To be more present, to be able to engage more fully in the free time that you have because your body is existing in a state of health, which is your natural state. And if every person in your family was experiencing that, how much different would your home environment be? And I can tell you with 100% certainty that the quality of health in terms of our modern healthcare system, meaning how often do you get sick and how many diseases do you have, even those metrics would change if everyone in your household was existing in a state of true health, where the brain and the body are connected, the nervous system is expressing itself coherently, where the brain is communicating proper messages to the organs and to the cells, and our body is balancing our hormones and our neurochemicals and our stress response so that our thoughts, our emotions, our physical well-being are all better. That the frequency with which you would get sick and the likelihood that you would come down with some sort of chronic illness, or even the likelihood that an acute episode of stress or injury would have as big of an impact, it wouldn't when you're in a state of perfect health, because that is the nature of an adaptation. And the truth is, we adapt to far more in this world than we fail to adapt to. For instance, we have the sun's rays always beating down on us. And yet, skin cancer is not the norm. We adapt to that process. We have pollution in our air, food, and water. Are we always falling ill and dying from the pollution in our air, food, and water? No, because our bodies are adapting. We have traffic. We have technology. Excuse me. We have screen time. We have normal job, financial, family, relationship stress. And yet we're not getting overwhelmed on a regular basis because our bodies are meant to adapt. It's natural. It's normal. It's the way it's supposed to be. And so if you do the work, if you put in the time to get into that state as the normal way of being, then you start to create a life where health is expected, and it's richer, and it's fuller, and it pervades all areas of how you function, how you feel. And if everyone in your family does that together, then what you create is an environment of stability and support and coherence. And in that state, we start to transform the way we see the world, the way we experience the world. Because living in safety and stability and health and connection and proper relationship to our own bodies and to the people who we live with, that's transformational. That's richness. That's what we want. And if we're like that, would you not then impact the people that you see at work and in the grocery store and in the lack of road rage you express when you're driving, right? And the patience that you exhibit to others? Would we maybe even start to see the best in other people because our patience and our understanding are easier to connect with? That our emotions and our thoughts are more our own than being run by our own patterns of stress and anxiety and trauma? Are we going to pass those things down to our children as easily if we are also healing them? And are they going to get so stuck in these patterns if they're free to adapt the way they're meant to in perfect health? And the answer is no. And so that's why I feel confident saying that not only is chiropractic the cornerstone of health within the family unit, but actually of the transformation of society, because the principle underlying the process of adjusting the spine to bring coherence to the brain and the body and the communication of health between all parts of the body, all parts of the being, that principle is based on trust in the natural world, trust in the capacity of this creation to support itself and to support us. And that principle is based on the true principle on which all health exists, which is that health comes from within. Health is a natural state. All else is a divergence. All else, all disease, is something else. It's something that happens as a result of or an effect of a divergence from health. The disease doesn't steal the health. The loss of health causes the disease. And so when we help restore the health naturally, we can allow the rest to start to take care of itself. And if we saw what happened, if we could spread that through our entire family unit, community, society, the amount of leftover stuff to deal with, the diseases, the illnesses, the allergies, so on and so forth, it would be much clearer. Because then at least we would know that proper health has already been sought through balance of the body's natural mechanism for creating that health. And that we must be doing something else above and beyond to hurt ourselves. Or there must be some sort of misrepresentation of genetic information in this person, or something specific like that. But the way it is now, we're so full of this stuff we call disease and illness and pain and dysfunction. And yet, we have no idea to what extent simply closing the gap between where we are and our natural state of health, where the brain and the body are connecting and communicating, would actually change that entire scenario. And we can change our experience with ourselves, with our families, and ultimately with everyone together. And I hope you'll agree with me that in this particular point in time, I think we really could use a little bit more togetherness and connection and understanding and trust. That's it. Day 1, chiropractic, family care. We're going to move on next week to chiropractic and pregnancy, an amazing, exciting topic that I can't wait to share with you guys. Take care.